Hi guys, this is Richard from the Staples Center, and today I'll be covering Filecoin. Full disclosure, I do own Filecoin, but nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Anyway, today we will do things a bit differently. I'm going to show you my charting technique completely from scratch. So right now on the chart, there are absolutely no levels, no indicators, just candlesticks. So when I take a look at a chart, the very first thing I like to mark are levels based off of Fibonacci retracements and trend-based Fibonacci extensions. And if you watched previous videos, I always like to take Fibonacci retracements off of significant bull market tops and bear market bottoms. So let's take the initial impulse that led to the 2021 bull market top. And as you can see on screen, so far, the 1.618 to 1.786 Fibonacci retracement, which I explained is a very important Fibonacci range for the Fibonacci ratios, is very important because it's the golden ratio. And we saw that with something like Chainlink, for example, where the 1.618 to 1.786 Fibonacci retracement caught the bear market low. So we are seeing some similarities between Chainlink's bear market bottom and Filecoin's bear market bottom. Okay, so after that, we can also mark a very important level, which is the March 2020 bear market bottom. Let me just label that really quickly. March 2020 bear market bottom at $2.28. Let's put that to the top. Okay, we can also label the 2017 bull market top at $30.06. Now, what I am also witnessing here is a very tight and clean three-wave correction. Now, I'm quite curious if this trend-based fib extension is going to be a one-to-one extension, which would be very bullish if that's the case. And lo and behold, it actually is. So by taking a 3-point trend-based fib extension, we can see that Filecoin is so far catching a bounce at the one-to-one trend-based fib extension, signaling that this three-wave correction is potentially over. Okay, so now that we have a few levels marked on the chart, let's just turn on the Wyckoff schematic really quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to get this straight off my chest. I do not believe Filecoin is trading in Wyckoff Accumulation, and the reason for that is because if Filecoin was trading in Wyckoff Accumulation, the bull market would have to extend well into 2027, because right now Filecoin would be trading in phase B, and there are 5 phases in a Wyckoff Accumulation, phases A, B, C, D, and E. I know people keep talking about an extended market cycle or a shortened market cycle, and I swear to God, this is personally for me my third cryptocurrency market cycle. And every cryptocurrency market cycle ends in Q4 of the year following the Bitcoin halving year, which in this market cycle means that the bull market should end in just a few months. Hence the title of this post and video. It really is Filecoin's last chance to have some sort of bounce or relief rally before the next bear market begins. But regardless, we can still use some elements of Wyckoff analysis to fortify this long trade setup. So the first test of the Fibonacci ratio, the 1.618 to 1.786 Fibonacci retracement, we can label that as a selling climax, or SC. Now, as you can see in the Wyckoff schematic, we obviously have a dead cat bounce. We can call that an automatic rally, or AR. Now, any retest of the region close to the selling climax is known as a secondary test, or ST. And we can see that just like in the schematic, we have a very similar three-way correction. Now, any test below the selling climax is known as a ST in phase B, or a secondary test in phase B. Now, this is pretty much where I think we're going to follow the schematic. If you've been trading for a while, you would have realized by now that it's very rare that any stock or cryptocurrency or any asset follows an accumulation structure just like this. It's very rare. I don't think I've ever seen one. Maybe Coinbase stock back in 2023, but that's about it. But the point I'm trying to get at is I'm basically playing for this rally over here, right? This rally back into the Wyckoff resistance levels. Let me actually just draw that out very quickly so that we can understand what these Wyckoff resistance levels that I'm talking about. So we have the automatic rally resistance at $9.46, and the Wyckoff resistance level at $11.85. Okay. So basically, like I said, I'm not really playing for the whole entire accumulation breakout. I'm just playing for this rally back up to the Wyckoff resistance levels, because that's still roughly a 4 to 5x, which, given how this current alt season has been playing out, a 4 to 5x is perfectly fine with me. You're literally buying Filecoin under $3 and you could be selling it at $9 to $11. So this isn't a 100x opportunity, at least in my opinion. And for those of you Filecoin bulls who want to say, oh my God, well, you never know. It could follow the whole entire Wyckoff accumulation schematic. Okay, first off, like I said, you will never see any asset trade exactly like the schematic above. It's very rare that's ever going to happen. And number two, if Bitcoin enters a bear market and drops 80%, do you really think Filecoin is just going to trade sideways for the next few years before embarking on, a new 100x? I mean, come on, get real. If Bitcoin enters a traditional bear market and drops 70 to 80%, Filecoin is going to get smashed. Okay, Filecoin going to get dropped another 90 to 95% from where we are today. That's just, my perspective on things. So now that we've labeled our Wyckoff schematic and we've labeled all our levels, we can actually start measuring a risk-reward ratio to see if this trade is even worth taking, right? Typically speaking, when it comes to risk-reward, you should never take any trades under a 3-to-1 risk-reward ratio. This one is acting quite strange. I think that's because I'm on log scale. I apologize if I'm speaking incoherently because it's very late and I'm very tired. So I'm just trying to get this video out before I go to bed. Yeah, so you're basically risking, even if, Filecoin rallies back up to the Wyckoff resistance levels, you're risking $1 to make $8, which is very worth it. And if Filecoin gets back to the 2017 bull market top, you're looking at risking $1 to make $30. So regardless, should Filecoin even have some sort of dead cat bounce or relief rally before the next bear market, the gains could be absolutely substantial. Don't scoff at a 4 to 500% gain just because it's not a traditional social media 100x. The stock market usually gives you an average return anywhere between 8.5 to 10%. If Filecoin does do a 4 to 500% pump, that's way outperforming the S&P 500. So be very glad if Filecoin catches that bounce. Now, I'm not saying go full portfolio all in on Filecoin. For me, Filecoin makes up less than a 1% weighting in my portfolio, solely because of the fact that there is no bullish impulse, really. I'm just sort of gambling, okay? I will say the word, I'm gambling on the fact that the secondary test in phase B is completed below the 2020 mark, March bear market bottom and tagging the 1-to-1 trend-based fib extension, and hopefully we recover the 1.618 to 1.786 Fibonacci retracement. So let's actually use Fibonacci retracements and extensions to actually measure potential bull market price targets besides the levels listed on screen. So just like how we took the 1.618 to 1.786 Fibonacci retracement from the bull market top, let's actually do it from the potential bear market bottom. And a 1.618 to 1.786 Fibonacci retracement would land Filecoin anywhere between $20 per coin and $26 per coin. So realistically speaking, it's quite close to the 2017 bull market top. So if Filecoin does rally from here, I expect Filecoin to at least hit $10, anywhere between the automatic rally resistance and the Wyckoff resistance. And the second take profit target would be anywhere between $20 and $30. And in the end, I think we're going to probably form some sort of macro head and shoulders here for Filecoin, where $20 to $30 may be the bull market top before eventually crumbling down another 90 to 95%, and Filecoin just fades into oblivion, just like any other altcoin. But like I said, are you really going to skip out on a potential 300 to 400% gain? Most of you guys watching will not really buy until Filecoin's like $5, $6, $7, $8. But by the time that actually happens, Filecoin will most likely have put in some sort of top, and you're going to be back holding for the next 4 to 5 years anyway. That's why for the people who are watching, you're waiting for confirmation or you're waiting for sentiment to change. Listen, nobody cares about altcoins. Everyone thinks that Bitcoin dominance is going to 70, 90, 99, 100%, right? Willy Woo thinks Bitcoin dominance is going to 90%. No one is properly allocated into altcoins. I talked about this in an Ethereum post where this is the disbelief rally, where things are supposed to just completely melt up to the upside and people get left behind. And you're seeing that in real time. I mean, for God's sake, Ethereum, which was left for dead at $1,300 to $1,800. I mean, even this post I made way back when, what was this, back in May 3rd? This was a few months ago. I mean, I made a long post on Ethereum at like $1,800 when nobody cared. And from there, Ethereum's went bing, bam, boom, man, to the freaking moon. And it's almost at new bull market, at new all-time highs. It's almost there. I mean, Ethereum's trading, what, 3,500, and the all-time high is at 5K. So Ethereum has already done a 3x, whilst most people are just either holding on to stable coins, which is... it's just funny. Market makers, they always win. They always win. Just make sure when you're trading something like Filecoin, make sure not to use leverage and just hold spot. This is not a very high confidence trade setup because, like I said, there's no bullish impulse. You are basically gambling that this is really the secondary test in phase V has bottomed at the March 2020 bear market bottom and the 1-to-1 trend-based fib extension. That's the play you're going for. You're gambling on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In modern portfolio theory, any asset class, regardless if it's cum rocket coin or pussy financial coin or doggy coins or frog coins or monkey coins, they all deserve a spot in your portfolio if you exercise personal risk management. And for me, Filecoin, like I said, it makes up less than 1% of my portfolio, but I still want to own it because I'm not going to skip out on a potential 400 to 500% return. Okay, so that's basically how I chart things from a Wyckoff perspective. You know, like I said, I first outline the important levels on the chart along with the proper Fibonacci levels, and then I try to analyze the chart either through a Wyckoff perspective or an Elliott wave perspective. So hopefully you guys got a bit of an insight on how I come up with these levels when it comes to analyzing charts like Chainlink and XRP, which are two of my biggest altcoin bags. And you get a sense, because I don't want people to blindly follow. It's more important you learn the technique for yourself instead of blindly following people who probably aren't very good anyway. Okay, I'm rambling now at this point. That's all I got for this video. It's getting pretty late. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.